Well, she's John Black, super chemist.
No, that's really not. There are a lot of women out there who really want a manly man.
Ultimately, Ned told most of his dates that he was Nora. Many of the women reacted angrily, but usually just for a little while. Some women wanted to continue the relationship.
They remained interested in pursuing something further. You know, so whereas...
Sexually.
Yeah. And that was heterosexual women who... That's what I'm saying. It's all up here. Because they said, well, we connected. And, you know, there's something, I really like you and I don't care. How many guys would do that? That's the difference between male and female sexuality right there.
Yeah, this is kind of BS. Yeah, she's right. You know, men are less apt to be with a transsexual or whatever. But today in this world, no. I'm getting tired of this. You have thousands of women on TikToks telling, you know, in all these interviews where they're saying they have 200, 300, 400 bodies that they've had they had sex with that many people, and then you got men 30 years and under. It's like a third of them ain't even having sex in the last year, or they're virgins. What the heck?
Nora says she found differences not only in sexuality and intimacy, but in every walk of life.
I'm in the market for a car and...
Take, for example, shopping for a new car. Going in as Nora, the sales pitch quickly becomes flirtatious.
Any guy that gets in is going to feel like, okay, this girl...
I want to date this girl just for a car.
I didn't say that.
But going back to the same salesman as Ned, the tone was all business, and the talk was all about performance.
They have the 3-liter Duratec V6 engine.
And in the end, a personal touch for Nora the salesman would never have offered Ned.
All right, thank you. You're welcome.
In Nora's final months as Ned, she upped the ante, infiltrating all male inner sanctums. But after 18 months of deception, she was unraveling, and the play acting at a men's wilderness encounter group would begin to scare her.
One guy had chopped up a log pretending it was his wife. So I thought, great, you know, we're going to have axes and knives. So I was terrified.
Having survived strip clubs, dating, and a bowling league, Nora Vincent wanted Ned's last days to be among men only, in private and intimate surroundings. Nora, a lapsed Catholic, thought the cloistered inner world of a monastery would be ideal. Ned managed to live for 3 weeks as a trainee. The monks, she says, were pious, smart men, but they were still men.
What made it prototypically male? What do you mean by that?
The breakdown in communication, the desperate need for male intimacy and the lack of ability to give it, really painful.
Nora says the monks were hostile to her feminine side. She says she was ostracized because of the monks' assumptions about her sexual orientation.
Ned was really at the center of it because he was an effeminate man, and many of them thought I was gay. As one of them told me in confession, I said I have something to...
You know, what's funny is she is gay, but she's a lesbian.
Confess to you, and he said, well, I think I know what it is. And I said, what? And he said, well, you're gay. And I said, well, yeah, but not in the way you think.
Loneliness can't hide.
Nora thought the perfect end to her 18-month saga was to join a men-only therapy group, a place where guys tried to bond and show their emotions instead of hiding them.
They don't get to show the weakness. They don't get to show the affection, especially with each other. And so often all of their emotions are shown in rage.
And they kept talking about their rage, often their rage toward women and what they would do physically and violently towards women.
Right. A lot of this was blowing off steam. It's sort of talking about the things that need to be said that you would never do. I mean, they would talk about fantasizing about chopping up their wives or something. It's not that they would ever do that, but it was a way to get out the blackest thoughts.
He doesn't like doing that work, but he can't quit.
Nora began to empathize with the fear and stress men feel for having to always be the strong provider. The therapy leader, psychologist John Guarnaschelli, saw Ned's shyness as typical of a newbie coming to brave the group.
A lot of the guys spoke to me after the retreat and said, talking to him, I felt like I was talking to somebody feminine.
Once again, some group members thought Ned was gay, but no one suspected he was a woman. After 8 sessions, the group went on a backcountry retreat, but Nora's 18 months of being an imposter was closing in on her.
The pressure of being someone that you're not, and being the fear of discovery and the deceit that it involves piles up and piles up. So by the time I got around to doing this men's group, it was really reaching critical mass.
On the retreat, her fear became palpable.
And I was out in the woods with a bunch of guys who have rage issues about women, and I was in drag, and I thought, oh God, what am I doing?
Nora was unraveling. She felt guilty about lying, as though she should be punished. In the final ritual of the weekend, the men were to act out the problems unearthed at the retreat with a partner.
And you asked that he harm you.
Yeah, I did. At that point, I was starting to really kind of crack up. I was really...
You were coming unglued.
Yeah.
So you were asking this guy to cut you?
To cut me. So self-mutilation is very much a female thing, and I think it was my way of paying the penalty for what I felt I had done.
Nora was not harmed physically, but she continued her emotional descent, and a week later checked into a hospital with severe depression. Identity, she concluded, was not something to play around with.
When you mess around with that, you really mess around with something that you need that helps you to function. And I found out that gender lives in your brain, and
Yeah, see, there's like three or four things, and plus she already had mental problems. One was that she couldn't handle the guilt, like, of seeing how men have to live, you know what I mean? She's lived in this bubble her whole life. And then this second part, where, this is the biggest trick of gender theory, that they, we think that they're trying to make them all non-binary, where they got the blue hair and the metal face and the tattoos and, you know what I mean, big eyelashes or whatever. No, they're doing that too in the sex changes, but no, the biggest trick is, because it's affecting everybody, and it's affected the whole country basically, is the fact that women force men to be the leader, the dominant one. Men don't force women, okay? And the proof is in the fact, when you ask a man what he wants in a woman, lately, yeah, sure, they say submissive because these women are like crazy. But my entire life, a man has never said submissive, not even at the end of his list of what he wanted in a woman. But every woman, even today, the most alpha boss babe always wants a leader who's more dominant than her. That's the proof right there. That's the proof right there, the common sense. See, the thing is, all you have to do is move slightly out of your place. See, the woman can't take a man being out of their place. And what's funny is then, but when he's in his place, she's been taught, by society, that everything a man does when he's a leader is horrible. So when he acts like, what her biology wants, she has been brainwashed. So she puts him down. So he moves slightly out of his thing. He's slightly out. He becomes non-binary a little bit, but it only takes a little bit. Now she can't respect him. It's just him going back and forth, being leader, not being leader, not, basically being a man, being non-binary, be a man, be non-binary. And you got her society brainwashing, against the man part, and then her biology is she's against the non-binary part. So I mean, you can't win.
It's something much more than costume, and I really learned that the hard way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They can't, when a woman goes out, even just slightly, she gets a part-time job or something or whatever, she can't take they can't take the gender switch. They can't do it. They can't do it.
Says she's healed now and glad to be rid of Ned, but her views about men have changed forever.
Men are suffering. They have different problems than women have, but they don't have it better. They need our sympathy, they need our love, and they need each other more than anything else. They need to be together.
Do you think women understand what it's like to be a man?
Not at all. No clue. No idea.
John Guarnaschelli thinks Nora's conclusions that men are just as emotionally vulnerable as women are important. and will be taken seriously because they came from a woman.
I said to her, this is going to be revolutionary, because it's been looked at as though men were the perpetrators and women were the victims. This is not
And now,
a safe
one
space.
last identity
Guard
switch.
yourself, yeah.
Warnacelli has never come face to face with the real Nora.
Hi, John. I'm Nora.
Hi! Wow! Bruce teaches, so we can never come to the meeting, so...
And both John and Nora are happy she is a she. The irony is not lost on Nora that it took a trip into manhood to help her appreciate her own femininity.
I'm so much closer to myself than I ever was, that I really like me. I really like being me, and I really like being a woman.
See, that's the thing. Being non-binary makes you go crazy. I would never believe this if I didn't look at it. But when the person, man or woman, steps even slightly out of their spot, it starts degrading their mind. I'm not saying that you're going to instantly, be crazy or whatever. I'm talking about over a lifetime, 20 years, doing it. Yeah, it makes people crazy. That's what a single mother is, a non-binary person. That's all a single mother is.
Did you like being a woman before, Ned?
I did, but I like it more now, because I think it's more of a privilege. But I like it more now, because I think it's more of a privilege. Because I think it's more of a privilege. Because I think it's more of a privilege.
This is VOM.
Nora Vincent's death raises many questions, but the biggest one by far is what pushed her over the edge to the point of choosing to die by assisted suicide. This is a topic that many people debated for a very long time after her death, but news outlets and content creators and they told us a story of a woman who tried to experience life as a man and failed miserably because she could not handle the hardship that men face every day. That's why she got depressed, and that is why she ended her own life.
That was reason number one.
In conclusion, men have it harder than women, and this is the proof. Case closed. Her book, her message to men was filled with positivity and encouragement, but also a very surprising level of understanding about our suffering and our shortcoming as men, because in some way she had experienced that. And instead of highlighting this whole thing, which I think would have actually benefited many men out there, these people used that same book and her death on top of that as propaganda. So I decided to do my own research because I have been very curious as to what really happened to her, what really pushed her over the edge. Also, I think Nora Vincent deserved better. I think she deserved a good amount of empathy, but also she deserves part of her truth to be told, because unfortunately she is not with us to tell us the truth. And today,
Yeah, this woman is a hero to a lot of men, including myself.
so let's start with, I think, the easiest thing to share with you. And this is her explaining to us, with her own word, why she got depressed after living a life as a man for 18 months. In her book, Self-Made Man, she wrote, and I quote, "Once the retreat was over, I knew that I had accomplished the last big task. Some part of me knew I didn't have to hold Ned together anymore, or the girded mindset that made him possible. And once I knew that, all the guilt about being an imposter and the anxiety of getting caught at it and the by then extreme discomfort of contravening my own gender identity came crashing in. I didn't have the resources or the reasons anymore to stop it." And
Now, did you see that? Gender identity. See, that's the second reason, is because she couldn't get over the guilt of, the way men are, and this thing here where she's guilty about, like, she's fooling everybody, you know what I mean? Just having to fool everybody. And the third reason is because of her gender identity, that she was getting crazy with that. Because you got to figure, this is a year and a half she's done this. It wasn't like a couple weeks or a month or something.
her identity came crashing in. I didn't have the resources or the reasons anymore to stop it. And this is her telling us word for word why these 18 months put her into a deep depression. It doesn't get any clearer than that.
Gender identity.
At the beginning of her second book, Voluntary Madness, she explains that she lost her mind mostly because she tried to hold two identity together. Now we'll talk more about the book in question in a bit. In this book, we truly get to understand her state of mind and what really happened to her as she gets a bit more personal. But her struggle with her gender identity comes up again in an interview